I love teaching. The old saying goes, there's no money in teaching. While that may be true in most cases, there is a lot of money in education. For classroom teachers, even administrators, there are a lot of opportunities to supplement your income using your education skills. I've had the privilege of working in a variety of supplemental jobs based on my educational experience. This video presents some employment options for educators to supplement their income. This may be new info, a reminder, or that final nudge. Either way, we hope this info is helpful. Let's get right to it. All right, so we're going to be looking at supplemental income for educators. I will say that the majority of items presented in this video I had experience with, so I'll be providing those insights where relevant. But we wanted to give an overview of some of the opportunities available for educators for side jobs within the field of education. So we'll have the overview, considerations, we'll look at some various options, and then some keys to remember. So when we're talking about side jobs, usually the top consideration is income, right? Supplemental income, especially in the classroom teacher situation. Sometimes it's like, hey, I don't make enough. I need to increase because I want to save, I want to survive, or maybe I'm saving up for a particular thing. However, we wanted to look at the field of education because I've had experience over 25 years where some of my colleagues, they work at bars, they work at industry, they work in industries outside of education, which puts them in a situation often where they're starting at the lower levels. But when we look at education side jobs, you can utilize your experience and your skills in order to supplement your income, and it puts you in a category where you can benefit salary-wise from your existing skills, as well as build new professional skills, expand beyond your classroom, the impact that you have. You can increase career flexibility, and you can explore leadership or consulting roles because the side jobs that you take within education are relevant to your resume, which you can put on your resume and increase your marketability. So the first category is online teaching and tutoring. Okay, so these four platforms are, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just a couple of the platforms that are out there. You have OutSchool, VIP Kids, Wizant, and Varsity Tutors. And most of these platforms are kind of similar. I do have experience with Wizant. I was on their platform for about 2 or 3 years. And basically, you set your own rate, you set your parameters, and then people can select your services based on their desired needs. Okay, but online teaching, it's low cost. You can do it from home. You can do it really from anywhere. So it gives you that flexibility, as well as in-person tutoring is low cost because you can utilize the local library. You can utilize, the person's home or what have you. So you have some flexibility, but you don't have the high costs and the high demand of reporting to a specific location, for a set period of time. Maybe you only decide, I'm only doing an hour, each day, or maybe 2 hours each day. That's the max. That's all I need. So you can set your schedule and your preferences for what type of kids you're dealing with. Let's say you're an elementary school teacher and you're like, I'm only tutoring high schoolers because I have enough experience with elementary. I'm going to tutor high school to break up the monotony. So you have flexibility when it comes to online teaching and tutoring. And you can see the estimated pay. And really that depends on, when it comes to online teaching and tutoring, some platforms have set amounts that they, delineate, and others like Wizant, you set your own salary price, and that gives you flexibility as well. The second category is curriculum writing and instructional design. This includes lesson and unit writing, developing assessments, and developing digital curriculum. Now, each one of these categories could be addressed by your specific school district. School districts are often soliciting teachers to contribute to lesson planning, assessment planning, and design, and digital curriculum design. So there are opportunities within the district. You can explore those. Ed tech companies are often soliciting for teachers to come in and contribute because, again, with the development of online platforms, apps, and things like that, they're looking for the expertise of teachers in order to contribute to talk about the feasibility of their lesson plans, their curriculums, or their assessments. You also have private publishers and private schools who also solicit for these types of opportunities. And what you're doing is you're going in, you're either creating from scratch based on standards, or you are revising based on what the company or the school district already has in place. So these opportunities are usually in a group setting. Sometimes you can be online with these, where they'll send you the curriculum with encrypted access, and then you'll provide your feedback and send it back to them. But again, it's very low cost as far as getting started. And again, depending on which one of these entities, ed tech companies, publishers, school districts, or private schools you are working with, the estimated pay can be pretty good. Educational program evaluators. So after school programs, extended learning opportunities, nonprofit initiatives, anything that's grant funded has to have a subjective evaluator as a part of that program. And what that evaluator does is it goes in, looks at the program, watches it in operation, and ensures that whatever the purposes of that grant funding to that entity are being executed. So they would look at the program, determine its functionality, determine its effectiveness and impact, provide reports. They could be biannually, they could be summative. So you're creating reports to evaluate the program and ensure that the grant funding is going to its intended purposes and that it's being effective. Now, the one thing about being a program evaluator that's different than some of the other ones that we've talked about so far is usually grants are 3 to 5 year grants. So you're actually talking about a commitment, because what you're saying is, while this grant program is going on, I'll be the evaluator for it. So as long as that grant is going on, you're agreeing to be the evaluator for it. So it's a longer commitment than just tutoring or curriculum writing, where those two are more of a one-shot deal, and then you're trying to get multiple opportunities. With the grant evaluator, educational program evaluator process, you're looking more at a long-term situation. You may have multiple programs that you're evaluating, but understand that you're making a long-term commitment in regards to that program. So professional development facilitator, these are very interesting. If you've been in education more than a year, you've maybe attended a workshop where an external provider comes in, shows you their program, shows you how it's going to work because the district has paid for it. Well, you as the teacher have some inside track because you understand on the front line exactly how programs will be implemented, what it takes to implement them, and their feasibility. So you could be a workshop facilitator. You could transition into webinars where people are attending your sessions, paying a fee to, speak with you or attend a session that you provide online. And then you have conference sessions that you could facilitate as well. So the estimated pay really depends on the demand, the program that you're implementing, and in some cases, it's also the budgeting of the school districts in order to be able to have you come in and facilitate workshops, webinars, or conferences. Kind of in keeping with the workshop facilitator is educational consulting. While they are two different things, The educational consulting can be done externally, meaning people come to you for instructional insight. So you're providing instructional coaching. You could be an educational consultant that goes in for school improvement. So a school contracts or district contracts you to come in, evaluate their school, provide some insights, and provide some next steps to help improve the functionality of the school. And then you have more nuanced supports such as social emotional learning and multi-tier student support systems. You can go in and train on those things as well. Then we have content creation and educational media. This one is blowing up, if you will, in recent years, where information is provided online. You know, Teachers Pay Teachers has been around for a while, where you're creating items that can be shared, but you're actually getting paid for your items. You have YouTube, where you're creating content for people to consume on YouTube. Maybe you have subscribers, and then eventually you have sponsors, and then you can do podcasts in the same manner. The estimated pay is, as you can see, it's a wide margin depending on how you approach your content creation and educational media creation. Then you have educational writing and editing. So this would include writing articles for journals or magazines, editing curriculums. You have grant writing. And then another one is dissertation editing and coaching. This last one, I have extensive experience in, where you are assisting maybe a master's thesis or a doctoral student with editing their dissertation or thesis and coaching them through the process of how to align it, set it up, get it submitted, and ultimately pass the course to receive their degree. We have test prep and academic coaching. Maybe you become the SAT, ACT, or AP prep guru. Some schools actually offer these as classes, but not always. And so there is a demand for SAT and ACT prep outside of the school setting. Okay. Now this may coincide with the tutoring piece, but this is a more nuanced approach. You're specifically saying, I'm helping you with test prep. In addition, all of us, if you're in the classroom, had to pass that praxis. Okay. So both the general one and the pedagogy, and you've heard the stories, how many times you had to take the tests and things like that. So people actually need assistance in preparing for these tests, and you could be that person. And then you have general academic coaching, whether it's a master's student, a doctoral student. You're helping them with their skill sets in order to be academically successful. All right, last but not least, you have educational franchises. So this is for that teacher who is looking either to transition out of the classroom, or maybe they want a little more freedom and flexibility in how they instruct students. So you have different categories for educational franchises. You have tutoring and test prep. These are the ones we're most familiar with, Sylvan, Huntington, Mathnasium, Kumon. Then you have early childhood / preschool franchises, STEAM, and then enrichment franchises. Now, the one thing I will say about the franchises, it is a situation where you are the end voice because you are in control of everything. So if you have a heavy load during the day, this is something you want to be mindful about as far as your work-life balance, because initially, to get it started, you are going to put in a lot of work. Okay. Once it gets rolling, maybe you can take a step back, but initially you are going to put in a lot of work in regards to any one of these franchises. But it's something else that educators can benefit from, whether they set it up as part-time or they use it as a transition out of the classroom. So some keys to remember: make sure you explore your district policies in regards to additional employment and supplemental employment. Different districts have different policies in regarding these things about who you can work for, how much time you can work for, and things like that, especially when you're talking about consulting, franchises. as well as online tutoring sometimes, because districts don't want you working with competitors. You definitely want to look at time management. Don't take on more than you can handle. Burnout is real. Even if you're just teaching, sometimes the burnout, is overwhelming. So if you're adding another task, make sure that you're managing your time properly. You're going to be making bank. So make sure you understand the tax repercussions and contracts. So going back to like online tutoring and actually all of these entities, you want to make sure you're not in competition with competitors. Okay. So you want to make sure that those contracts do not have conflicts. Definitely look at your work-life balance. Yes, you're making more money. That's great. But if you're too tired or burnt out to even enjoy the money, then what's the point? Okay. Make sure you have a work-life balance. So you already have valuable skills that you can improve on and utilize in order to supplement your income. You don't need to switch industries. If you're one of those people who are like, nope, I want something totally different than my education experience that I do for 8 hours a day, cool. But if you're one of those people who are like, yeah, I want to utilize my skills in order to increase my income, these are the options for you. So you can increase your income, provide yourself with flexibility, as well as grow professionally. We hope this helps. If you have any questions specifically about any one of these, drop a comment in the chat and we'll respond immediately. Because like I said, I do have experience with each one of these, so I can provide you some nuanced insights. If you drop a comment in the chat, have no problem responding to you. Thanks for watching. We hope this information was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. If you found this video beneficial, feel free to support this channel via PayPal or CashApp. 50 cents, $1, or whatever you like. All support is appreciated. This allows us the means to keep making great content.